what has the European Union done? Just a simple statement that shows its subservience to the United States, the very same United States that has now sidelined the far-right Corina Machado, who is no longer useful to their imperialist strategy, the same one that despises the Nobel Peace Prize and intends to give it to Trump.
Ursula von der Leyen is squandering European taxpayer funds for climate and gender across the entire world to finance the very same policies which have already resulted in Europe's economic downfall.
The illegal and illegitimate military interference and aggression against Venezuela and the kidnapping of its president is a very serious attack on international law and the sovereignty of peoples. Our firm condemnation of imperialist interventionism and Trump's aggression, and our solidarity always with the Venezuelan people. It is the law of the jungle, the Monroe Doctrine, now updated, a Condor Plan 3.0 designed to install a hegemonic system of domination through wars, plunder, blockades, fake news and military aggressions, just like the one suffered by the Caribbean nation. And pay close attention, a warning against the threats to Colombia, Mexico, Cuba and Greenland. And what has the European Union done? Just a simple statement that shows its subservience to the United States, the very same United States that has now sidelined the far-right Corina Machado, who is no longer useful to their imperialist strategy, the same one that despises the Nobel Peace Prize and intends to give it to Trump.
After February of 2022, in this parliament, words of indignation and condemnation were uttered regarding Russia's violation of international law. Ambassadors were recalled, theatrical performances were blocked, Russian athletes were prevented from participating in the Olympic Games, and resolutions and sanctions were voted upon. Where are today's champions of international law? Everyone lost their voice of outrage after the 3rd of January, when Trump orchestrated the kidnapping of Maduro and caused the deaths of over 100 individuals, including both civilians and military personnel, in an undeniable breach of international law. Venezuela is the tomb of your colonialist rhetoric and of your double standards. No condemnation, no sanctions, no resolutions, no ambassadors recalled if the one violating international law is Washington's master. The real fault was managing its oil as a sovereign nation, as Trump himself said, who today babbles about the Monroe Doctrine.
Ursula von der Leyen is squandering European taxpayer funds for climate and gender across the entire world to finance the very same policies which have already resulted in Europe's economic downfall. Donald Trump, on the other hand, meets with American corporate leaders and plans the exploitation of Venezuela's oil reserves, the largest in the world. These are different priorities, and the results speak for themselves. The American economy is growing while the European economy is shrinking. Venezuela should therefore be a warning to us Europeans. If we must defend our place in the world, then we must do it like Donald Trump. We must pursue our own interests and work on our capabilities. Therefore, let's put an end to the green moralizing and get rid of Ursula von der Leyen's commission.
Fortunately, today we can speak of a renewed sense of hope and optimism for the Venezuelan people in their tireless struggle to regain peace, freedom and democracy. It is naive to believe that the regime would fall under its own weight, and it cannot be defended or excused, because we are not talking about a democratic leader.
But today the situation in Venezuela has gone much, much further. We are in a completely different scenario. If a year ago some here were saying that Maduro was stealing the elections, today we should be talking about Trump stealing their oil, and also the will of the Venezuelan people, and especially that of the political prisoners and the displaced. Therefore, just as we did a year ago, we socialists maintain that in this world there are only two paths. It's either confrontation and subjugation, or that of dialogue and respect. The Venezuelan people have the right to ensure peace, democracy and progress for themselves. Therefore, kasi may consistent with what we've always defended, we socialists say no to the imposition of the strongest, whether Maduro, the US on Venezuela, Russia and Ukraine, or Israel.
This has happened in Venezuela, a monstrous dictatorship that the European Union has supported for decades, almost as much as the criminal regime of Cuba. If it had been left to the European Union, the dictatorship in Venezuela would have become eternal, just like Cuba's, and Maduro would have died peacefully in his bed like Castro did. But Trump finally understood that the alliance of socialism, Islamism, and drug trafficking, which has specifically coalesced in Venezuela, poses a significant threat to the United States and represents a direct security threat to the United States.
We may disagree on how Nicolas Maduro was removed from Venezuelan soil, but we don't deny one fact. Venezuela is better without him. What we cannot allow is for his downfall to be merely a change of taste and not a change of direction. If 2 years ago we stood here condemning those who usurped the elections, today we are duty-bound to defend those who rightfully won them. Venezuela is not merely oil, it is not just gold, and it is certainly not a protectorate. Venezuela is a nation that has waited far too long for its freedom. Let us not wait any longer for it. We must defend those who won them. The Venezuela